So again, we've been doing this since now February. We thought it was about 5 months. Our partners, Nicole and James, in the multifamily. We take care of the single family. Is our screen sharing?
Not yet.
Maybe not. I'll just keep talking. So we're trying to add value for the. Just sit up there.
I did. It did not work.
Now can people see?
How about that?
Cool.
Awesome.
So now I lost my rhythm there. So anyway, just basically, trying to add value on Tuesdays with some different topics and, things that people don't hear about every day besides the wholesaling, rentals, and different things. So we appreciate everybody being here. Tonight we have a special treat. We've been talking most Tuesdays, but we're trying to bring on some guests that have, a wide array of experience in different areas. So basically, tonight we have a very special guest. He's our mentor and coach. When we first started in 2016, this was somebody we went to. He coached us up on a wide array of things. He taught us how to virtually, basically that's where we've been able to learn how to invest virtually, along with rehabs and rentals and the whole gamut of things. He's our partner in some properties now. We do different things with him. So still our coach, and we've talked about coaching and how important that is to us. We have a wide array of coaches that we keep all the time, just so we can always learn. We can always bring back. And without further ado, Mark Jackson is here, and he's built a very impressive portfolio in Puerto Rico, which is what we asked him to talk about tonight, amongst other things. He's the Iron Man. He's an avid golfer. He has hundreds, if not thousands, of deals under his belt. He invests virtually. He invests locally. He's moved around a little bit. He started as a property appraiser. I could go on and on. He writes books. He's doing a nonprofit, 40 and 50, playing a bunch of golf in 50 states for a nonprofit cause, writes books. But without further ado, Mark Jackson, and he's going to be teaching you guys up on Puerto Rico.
There you go. Hey, that's a heck of an introduction. Thank you so much. A blessing to see so many folks here. Good to catch the end of Nicole. Just great things my sisters told me and mentioned about what you do, and Annette, Carl, those that are actually showing their face, Nico. Passive cash flow. What's your name? I'm so sorry.
Passive cash
That's
flow.
James. That's our partner, James.
James, great to have the opportunity to greet. Am I co-host so I can share screen?
Yes, you're allowed to share the screen. Go ahead.
Okay, outstanding. So just basically want to jump in, get you some real good information, share maybe just a little bit of background, but I'm going to hit it hard and fast and leave plenty of room for QA. Irwin and Sharon, again, thank you so much for the opportunity to share. Again, my name is Mark Jackson, and you can call me MJ. And I grew up in Neptune, New Jersey, the one high school town. Went to school in the Southeast. Worked for Church's Chicken after college. Got robbed at gunpoint 3 times, and it took the 3rd time to realize I didn't need to be putting myself in that situation. So went back to school, re-educated in the Atlanta market, and was buying my first home. And at the closing table, discovered what was the appraisal report, that thing the bank uses to justify the value when they're lending on properties. Had no idea that I'd even paid for an appraisal, but looking at the content of it, I just had this divine intervention moment that, hey, with my background in accounting, with my love for digital equipment and gadgets, and then just a sense that there was a way to look at valuation from a different perspective, just gave birth to what eventually became my core business, Investor Comps, where we provide real estate valuation data and training to the investors. What started out as domestically, but now we have clients in 5 continents outside the U.S. looking and using that data to invest in property here in the U.S. in all the major market areas. My joy to have the opportunity very early in 2016 to meet Jane and Sharon and share with them a little bit of what we're going to talk about tonight. And that's HUD deals, cheap government houses. And that is actually how I cut my teeth doing investing in Puerto Rico. So we have been able to build a really nice portfolio. I'm closing on another duplex on the 18th. I'm here in Puerto Rico right now. Now, I don't live here full time. I'm not taking advantage of the Act 60 part where you remove your federal taxes. I do have a very, very, very lovely wife. And while we both come down and spend time here, she still has a role that keeps us on the mainland for a little bit. But as soon as that wraps up, we're certainly going to transition and be here full time. So let me just give you a little dynamic. When it comes to doing real estate, I really like the single family space and small multi-family space. That's where I've really been able to help a lot of people in a lot of different market areas have really, really good success. Wholesaling, certainly flipping properties for those big chunks of cash so that you can actually start building up money that you can invest passively or even buy property, hold it for long-term passive income, and then take advantage of those powers of amortization, depreciation, the tax benefits, and certainly the income that come from long-term hold wealth building assets. But the very things that I've used and have taught, in particular when it comes to doing cheap government houses, especially from the HUD home store, you can do in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is this amazing U.S. territory. It is not a foreign country. Just in case that catches anybody off guard, you can go there with your driver's license. You don't need to take your passport. U.S. territory. Just off the Caribbean islands, come down past Cuba, Jamaica's to the south, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and then bang, there is Puerto Rico. So the nice part about it is, again, I've been here, came down on the 1st. I'll be here the entire month. And Saturday was just a really relaxing day. We're going to grab the hammock, looking out over the Caribbean Sea on the south side of the island. I'm telling you, this is an American paradise. That's probably the best way to say it. I love, as Jane Sharon, I love triathlon. I can bike, swim, and train here all year. The property I stay on has 2 golf courses, so I can play golf out my back door, and the beach is 200 yards away. So if I want to go for a swim, I can do that very easily. Just so much to offer. The people are U.S. citizens. The Puerto Ricans are just the most family-friendly, warm and engaging folks. And you go out to the beach and put up your chair with your family loved ones, and I guarantee you someone's going to come and offer you some food if you want to have some of what they have. It is just that friendly and gracious. But it's also a tremendous place to easily port the things that you have learned and are doing on the mainland U.S. right here to Puerto Rico. So I'm going to share a little bit of that with you. Again, I use nothing but the HUD home store. When I needed to contact an agent, I went to Home HUD store, clicked on any ID agents, selected San Juan, Puerto Rico. The second person on the list was Enrique Morales. Called him up. He answered. I said, listen, coming down to Puerto Rico, I need to look at some HUD houses. Will you meet me? He said, yes. Came down with my mentor, spent some time on the ground for about 2.5 days. We put bids on properties immediately. One of them was this is 1109 14th Avenue in a little area called Puerto Rico. We put bids on it. That's January 22nd. And then somewhere within a couple of days, we won the bid on this one, utilizing the same strategies I teach on HUD. And so we got this one $81,000. $81,000 for a quadruplex. Okay? Let that resonate for a minute. That means that you got a quadruplex for roughly $20,000 a door. And each of the units rent for $600 to $700 per month. So that's like before renovation, that's a four times factor on your acquisition versus cost. And On top, well, actually 3.5. All right, I exaggerate. I get excited when I start talking about stuff in Puerto Rico. Here's the other thing. It's all masonry construction. These are dwellings that didn't need to be rebuilt. They were certainly post-Hurricane Maria from 2017. They just needed to be, the bathrooms updated, kitchens updated, paint, and move on. And that's about it. Plus, you remove a lot of your extra costs. One, our clients, the typical nature of the Puerto Ricanos is that they bring their own appliances. They're going to bring their own refrigerator, range, so on and so forth. So you don't have to place those items or even maintain them in a residence when you're renting. In addition to that, there's no ductwork. You don't have HVAC heating systems, and you don't have air conditioning units. The climate is so temperate, of course, it doesn't get cold. And then your residents, again, they'll bring fans and or their own window units because they really only cool the bedroom area. These homes are very, very temperate, even in the middle of the day, because they're concrete, not made out of framed wood. And again, every asset that we acquire has a concrete roof. So the most you have to do with that is seal it, paint it, and then you maintain about every 18 months, and you never have to worry about those ceilings leaking or whatever the case may be. So you minimize a wealth of your deferred maintenance costs. Even though your rents are contracted, your margins stay very, very strong. So again, utilizing the same exact strategies that I have taught and used on the mainland here in Puerto Rico. So this is the asset. When we acquired it, again, just all masonry construction. We have a standardized palette that we use. All paint colors are exactly the same. We do a nice cream on the outside, gray on the trim. If there's any security bars, those are done in San Juan brown. And then on the interior, we do the same thing. All the interior is completely white. Any trim or doors are San Juan brown. Very clean, very consistent palette. So this was a quadruplex. We also, at the same time, now this is just before COVID, we won 3 more bids, actually 4 more bids. One was a single family that we let go. The numbers just didn't work. It was too much to renovate. We bought 2 single families, one in a community called Rio Piedras and one in a community called Biomon. Then we also acquired a triplex in a community called La Riviera. Now, all of these are just communities as part of the local San Juan metropolitan area, where most of the population of Puerto Rico lives. So it gives us a very good, dense diversity of clients to rent and lease to. So with that, in June, I started in January 20, had the pandemic. I wasn't able to close on those units until June. Now, the beautiful part about it is I want to piggyback on Nicole's comments at the end of her presentation, because I have a wealth, and I'm very fortunate to work with a lot of private lenders. So I don't use or engage with banks. So all my private lenders had money ready to deploy in Puerto Rico on these assets. I do long-term notes, 60 months. And so I get those puppies going. I will either remarket these as turnkeys as they have been performing, or at some point I may bring in local commercial bank money, which I've been developing my relationships with the local banks here in Puerto Rico, and then put a 30-year note on it and just cash flow those things as they become long-term wealth assets for the family. But in the summer of 2021, we actually held our investor conference mastermind here in Puerto Rico. We had a number of folks come down, and you see your tremendous and gracious host, Miss Jane and Sharon, are with us. We visited the unit on the left was actually one of the very first ones that we acquired in the Rio Piedras community. And then the one on the right is one area called Carolina Country Club, and that is also a triplex. So we get 3 incomes out of that asset. And it was also, now that one wasn't a HUD property. As you get on the ground and develop relationships, even from a distance, with my agent, Kike, he brought us a wholesale deal. So we were able to identify, vet, and run the valuation numbers on this one, still using investor comps. And this was another asset that we acquired, very modest. I think we were about $119,000 all in, acquisition and renovation. And again, there's 3 incomes that come out of that property that produce I think it's roughly $2,000 a month. So tremendous and very, very good cash flow on that asset. So let me try to keep going forward. Since we've been here, now we have 28 assets on the ground, about 58 doors. And I tell you, I never dreamed that this type of dynamic of doing virtual investing would happen. I didn't share. I actually lived full time, formerly in Denver, Colorado, and now, well, actually, I have a home in Salt Lake City, but I'm actually part-time living out of Missoula, Montana. I only come here about 3 times a year. I definitely come in March because that's when I do the Ironman. I'll come down, I'll finish up my training and then do the Ironman, and then I go to Atlanta because I love going to the Masters tournament in Augusta. I'm coming to summertime, and so this would be nice. And then typically come sometime in the fall. This year we're coming back for the first time during the Christmas holidays. We'll be here mid-January, probably mid-December through mid-January. And what's really great is that the temperature only changes about 10 degrees all year. Right now it's high 80s. During the holiday season, what we call winter, it's in the low 80s. So it just makes for a really nice, clean, consistent environment. Because I love the water, so I can always go for a swim. But again, you'll see, just looking at that map, predominantly everything we do is metropolitan San Juan area. Let me go to the next slide. We also do multifamily. So in carryover from the prior conversation, this is also a property that was brought to me by my agent. It was brought to us as 8 units in 2 buildings. And so as we got into it, it was, again, an asset left over from Hurricane Maria. There was trees and shrubs. By the time we closed on it, we found out that there was actually 10 units. And we based all of our numbers and income off of 8 units. We actually got magically 2 more units. Now, we didn't keep it that way. One of them was a very small studio, so we still wound up with 9 units overall. But all that did was enhance our numbers when it was all said and done. What I want to do, we finished this unit, renovated it. It is now performing. We set up videos. This is actually an image from my Google Drive, units 1 through 9. I do want to share with you just a brief video. You know what? I want to go back. Let me go back just a moment. Let me see if I can do. Let me show you. I want to do sound so that you can hear this. This is just a finishing on a property. Let me just share this with you. Okay, beginning video analysis exterior. This is Las Cruzadas KM09. Doing just a review of the exterior fence. We have motorized entry gate here. All the exteriors have been painted. We do have some overgrowth, probably cut some of the trees back again. And then we've got everything's been painted exterior on the outside. And we're going to begin going into the individual units, and we'll work to bring all the video collaboratively together. There you go. So what has happened with this particular asset, again, you can see we have our standard colors that we do. So we go from one asset to the other. If you look at the ones that even Jane and Sharon ran, same palette, so that we're able to control our costs and manage to go forward. Now, I really believe in collaborating not only on identifying the deals, but also helping our just book of clients that want to deploy capital, allowing them to invest passively, truly being virtual investors, while you and we identify these assets. If it's somewhere we live and we just need to be another county over, in some cases maybe it's another state over, always teach that you want to be in an environment that has 4 basic principles: population growth, income growth, job growth, rent growth, and then certainly somewhere that is landlord friendly, where if you need to get your asset back, you can do so very, very quickly. Those are things that all exist in a number of states on the mainland, but even here in the territory of Puerto Rico as well. So I couldn't be more excited to have the opportunity to care and share. There's a number of different dynamics about how you can get tax benefits from taking advantage of Act 60. But one thing that I discovered very early on when I got here is that there's a moratorium on rental income. Rental income is not taxed. So we're actually able to keep another 20-some percent, just less than 20% of all of our income on these rental properties because the rental income is not taxed. So here's the thing. I did nothing differently in engaging with these assets than what I normally would have done right on the mainland. We have property, we've done deals in 21 states, have helped clients in essentially all 50 states over the years with investor comp since 2006. But overwhelmingly, the same principles and practices we use in the mainland, everyone needs a place to stay. They want to have something that is renovated nicely with good materials, that's sustainable, and in locations where they have access to groceries and food and stuff like that, as compared to in a situation where they're in a food desert or they can't go buy a suit of clothes or the schools aren't very, very good. So picking locations strategically and then also really working with the best asset class you possibly can in the market areas you're in, but doing it remotely adds tremendous reward. Without a doubt, Jane and Sharon have experienced that. It's been my joy to teach, care, and share, and we still engage now. And I'm very modest but growing community called VIP Plus as part of Investor Comps, where we have our investing clients come in. We have those that are actually, like Jane and Sharon, identifying and working on deals when they're not working on other projects like LED Studio and adding value to you in this group. But it is my joy to have the opportunity to care and share. And I realize there's probably any number of different questions. I may have gotten to some of those going through these assets, but I will tell you that the exact same thing I've been doing since 2004 with HUD properties leading up to 2012 when the HUD home store really got launched and you could do deals without, bid blindly and not have to worry about losing your earnest money, stuff like that, is the exact same strategy in 2020 and even today we're utilizing here in Puerto Rico. And if there's anything I can ever do to help care and share with you, leads and guides in a fashion that helps you be more successful, especially utilizing and taking a valuation first approach to real estate, which is so very, very important, or engaging in doing virtual real estate investing, it is my joy to add some value to your lives. Jane Sharon, I'm open for questions. I want to make sure that the information I did cover, and I'm glad to go back and look at some other things. Folks can see, but we can go from there.
Yeah, we can open it up absolutely to questions. I think Charlene has a question if you want to unmute and ask the question.
Sure.
Okay. So I work for Homeland Security. Don't tell anybody. But anyway, during that time, we had to deploy a lot of people during the COVID thing. It was a big, huge deployment, and it was, as you know, a big effort. Long story short, how did that impact? People needed this, that, water, all that kind of stuff. So could you say anything about that impact on the investor?
Yeah, I would say, well, my experience has been very, very fluid. The only time that, I was here in January of 2020, and I wasn't able to come back until January 20, so about 5 months later. And that's when I was actually closed all of the properties, and then we were able to do renovation. What was really unique here is that I'm going to say the Puerto Rican governor and the folks here, they actually took COVID pretty seriously. They overwhelmingly.
You know what? I meant to say the hurricane. I'm sorry.
Oh, the hurricane.
Yeah.
Well, I came post Hurricane Maria. And again, every asset I bought has not been new construction. It's been assets that transitioned through Hurricane Maria. They just need to be redone. Either kitchens, bathrooms, exterior, cut down some plants and plant growth, stuff like that. I certainly, like a lot of folks, I traveled here before, taking cruises and things of that nature, but really didn't, to my own ignorance, realize what we have in such a jewel that everything that I started buying right off the bat was just FHA foreclosures. People that had FHA mortgages, put down 3%, pay your closing costs, and pay your mortgage insurance, things of that nature. This is U.S. territory. We use the dollar. Obviously, the language is Spanish. Aprendiendo español con la maestra. para aprendiendo las 11 meses. I've been studying Spanish for the last 11 months with my professor. And it's been a joy that was my abogado, my attorney. I lease space out of the office because I do have a team that's here. And so we sign new leases and contracts and do negotiations and different things here. And I have a closing for a property I'm selling in Gary, Indiana on Thursday. And so he's going to sign and notarize the document. So all the things that you do in your own market area, you can do here. Now, specifically to that question, you know there was 2 hurricanes last year in 2022. Ian, it was Ian. What was the other one, Jane? Ian and something else. I can't remember. All I know is this. All right. On the mainland, we had one house in Cape Coral that we had to do an insurance claim on. We had 2 homes in Sarasota. We had to hurry up and get redone because we have no contract for sale. We were still able to sell those. And I have another property in the Tampa market area. And that was in 2022. I had to do those insurance claims. There was something happened in 2021. I had an insurance claim. I've had zero insurance claims in Puerto Rico. And the same storms have come through here as well as gone to the mainland. And that is because of the nature of the construction. So again, the things that people want to question or maybe they don't know what they don't know when it comes to engaging and doing real estate here. I'm telling you, I've done a lot of houses in a lot of states, and I individually am still very cautious. I don't buy anything that's at the bottom of the street. I'm very mindful of what the topography is around the assets that we're acquiring. What communities are they in? And I try as much as possible to make sure I'm buying multifamily, duplexes, quadruplexes. In this case, an 8-plex that wound up being a 9-plex. So I hope that helps just the dynamics of what you would experience or wouldn't know about without being here on the ground from time to time, working on deals. But great question. Thank you. Is there a follow-up?
What did you say?
Do you have a follow-up? I want to make sure I covered everything you needed.
No follow-up questions at this point.
Okay. All right. Good stuff.
Thanks.
Who's next?
Yes. Do you have information where we can get in contact with you? And do you have any coaching groups that we could be a part of?
Yes, absolutely. It is my joy. Let me just go back to screen share. One of the best ways to contact me is just go to themarkjackson.com. themarkjackson.com. There's some information there, but also as we have the opportunity to care and share tonight, in particular with our VIP Plus community, which Jane and Sharon and a number of other people have engaged with and are involved with, you can utilize the URL right there, vip.investorcomps.com/schedule. Jump in, schedule a call, and we'll have the opportunity to meet one-on-one. I'd be glad to walk through, give you some more dynamics of the history of investor comps and the power of having and taking a valuation first approach to real estate, which works wonderfully well in terms of doing virtual investing. There's so much to the life and walk. I mean, again, so many of you, no doubt, are having very, very good success doing real estate and doing it very, very well. But again, the last thing you ever want to do is be the smartest person in the room. Always, as Jane and Sharon said, we've been engaging for, 7 years now, and yet they're still always seeking information and other wise counsel so that they can have a well-rounded tool belt to pull out the instrument they need based on the type of transaction that they need to get done.
Okay. I did not get that information. Is it just Investors Comp?
Right.
Okay.
Is it in the chat? I could put it in. You want to put it in? I could put it in. It's vip.com/schedule. So you can just cut and paste right out of there. And then if you want to get more information, go to markpaxson.com. And that's always a good way to reach out and get some more content. I tell you, I get giddy just kind of talking about real estate, even listening with the calls wrapping up with Nicole and her share of multifamily and how to engage next week with the banks, understanding how different loan products work and where's going to be the best place to go get financing is invaluable information that really allows you to apply leverage to the assets you otherwise may use private money to first acquire and then start building your own wealth portfolio. I'll give you a tip. I was listening. It's not even mine. Let me step back. A book by Mark Kohler, Kohler, called "What Your CPA Isn't Telling You." I was reading that book back in 2017, and one of the things he shared is that you want to buy one good piece of real estate per year for 10 years. And so that will be your wealth building, your passive income vehicle as that time goes by. Now, all of us are at different ages and stages of life. I think at the time, I think I was 55 at the time. And yes, I had a portfolio, but man, that stirred my pot. But I wasn't going to do it like one a year. I was going to do it multiple properties a year. So I acquired 5 properties in the Detroit, Michigan market area. And the pricing there was such that, along with the rents, that I could actually offer to a private lender a 10-year amortizing note, fully amortizing note, not interest only, but fully amortizing note. I didn't need the cash flow, so just let the rent pay the asset off. I got a duplex and 4 single families. And those things are literally more than halfway paid off now. And I haven't had to put my money into it. It's all been arbitrage from the tenants that have been in those buildings. The very next year, I bought 2 more properties that were actually family assets in South Carolina, but then I found one in Georgia, Rome, Georgia. It came to me on a lead. It was a 6-plex, all one building, townhomes. And it already had the college basketball team for the local school, Georgia Highlands College, leasing the building. So it already had guaranteed income. So the same thing. I bought that one, did some modest renovations to it just to kind of keep it upgraded, that type of thing. And that property literally, again, is more than halfway paid off now. It's 6 units under one roof. That's compared to having multiple units in different places. And I'm really excited because most recently, not only have the rents gone up, but now they actually, the college needed more student housing. So we've kind of contracted where the basketball players are and then opened up some other units and converted them from rather being 2 bedrooms to being 3 bedrooms. So now instead of having 12 rents, we're actually earning 18 rents. And I couldn't be more excited. And that's not something I would have known back in 2018 when we first acquired it, but it sure feels good now. So what I will do with the additional income is I'm going to accelerate the payoff. I'm going to put more principal payments into that unit such that it'll be paid off even sooner, the same way you would accelerate a 30-year mortgage. So there's all different kinds of ways to engage and do real estate. And I will say I've been to that property twice since 2015. I went there 2018. I went there one time because I was visiting Atlanta, so I went to go see it, and I was just in Atlanta with my mentor 2 weekends ago. So I went to see it again. So I've had that building; it's getting paid off, but I haven't done the management on it. I've had another property management company do all the work, engage with the college, and it's produced. So there's a number of ways that you can do real estate and do it wonderfully and very, very well. I encourage you, stay in this community. Jane and Sharon are phenomenal. I know nothing but good things about Nicole and what she cares and shares. So stay connected. But anything I can do to help, guide, and support you in terms, especially utilizing that valuation first approach, doesn't make a difference what type of deal you're doing. You can be doing a pre-foreclosure, probate, subject to, any variety. But at some point, you've got to stop and not rely on someone else to tell you, but go and see for yourself. What is the best acquisition value? What should I pay for that asset? And then simultaneously, what's going to be the after repair value? What can I remarket it for? And with that power and skill, you can work any market area you want, anywhere you want, and be anywhere you want to be while doing it. So Jane and Sharon, I pray that adds value. It's been a blessing to everyone here. Again, I'm still open to questions. I've got a good window of opportunity of time. I don't know how long this goes, but you've got my undivided attention.
Oh, we still have time. That's a lot of great content. I really appreciate everything you said. It's brought a lot of great content to the table. I think Gene has a question. You have your hand up, Gene?
Yeah, Mark, thank you so much, sir. That was quite interesting, and our lives parallel a little bit. I can see myself moving in your steps. I'm a marathoner myself. Ironman. No, I can't. No, I'm not even gonna go there. But yeah, I've been to Puerto Rico twice. Isla Verde and Condado.
Yep.
Very beautiful. I've looked at opportunities, so you've got me, and I had closed the book, so you've got it right opened up again. So I appreciate that. You did mention. I love what you mentioned about some of the highlight criteria. So obviously, from what I gathered, you look at the topography, you look at the build, make sure it's masonry built. You try to find multi units, which is great. Can you go into a little bit more depth into, and you kind of hinted on it just recently, about the actual numbers themselves? Because I'm also involved with working with private lenders, and what I'm finding out is, and oh, by the way, working on my Spanish as well. Majority of my tenants in Dundalk are Hispanic, so like every day I'm using Google Chat probably like 3-5 times a day. So so what I'm finding out, because I'm running out of money, I do a W-2 and I'm using the traditional way. I'm finding trying to do more of a BRRRR model, so where I'm able to use the investors' money into the rehab, if that's making any sense. That way I'm not using any of it. Okay, so yeah. So with that being said, can you dive a little bit peek into like the numbers side of things, please?
Yeah, cool. You're in Dundalk. Is it Jane and Sharon? We did a flip there. Was that?
Yep, we sure did. That's on the east side. On the east side of the city.
There we go. Yeah, they found and that deal came from a fellow officer or firefighter.
Yep, co-worker.
Yep, a co-worker that was a probate type of thing, and got in there and flipped it. It was a great flip, great opportunity.
You never know where the lead is going to come from. But Gene, one of the things. So let me go back a little bit. When it comes to at the point that you are, yes, if we're going to use our own credit, our own capital, we're only going to be able to do so many deals. Not that you can't be very, very successful that way, absolutely. But based on what your written goals are, and what you're aspiring to accomplish, having and tapping into your network is going to be very, very powerful. The first two people that we ever had as private lenders in our real estate investing business, so that we weren't just going through our capital, was first my insurance agent. I wrote all my insurance with one particular agent. It was Alabama, Georgia. It's like Alga or something like that. Anyway, so he said, "Listen, you're doing these properties. Can I invest with you?" I was like, "I don't know, can you?" It caught me off guard. But he wound up being a private lender for us to do some, $60,000, $70,000 deals, and he actually provided the capital for both the acquisition and the renovation. So we didn't have to come out of it anything other than our time and resources in finding the deal and making sure it got done. Okay, we flipped that deal, we paid him back with interest, and we kept the lion's share of the profit on the transaction. Then, when we had another deal come up, and so my next door neighbor happened to be very big in TV and movie production. So I went over and I said, "Hey, I'm working on some deals, and he was already an investor. I mean, this guy was really savvy. He always told me, he said, he wanted to he would set his goal for his income, and he wanted to make sure he made his goal in the first 6 months of the year. So everything else he made in the second half of the year, either he didn't have to, or the was just lagniappe. That was a powerful lesson. I've used that. I remember it very, very well. But he invested in our business. And so we went from there. Next thing you know, you've got somewhat of a watershed of a book to demonstrate, especially if you do deals well, that now you can start sharing with church members or other associates. For me, one of the things that I was very fortunate with investor comps, coming out of selling my appraisal firm and then basically utilizing investor comps to support other real estate investors, I met a gentleman in a speaking engagement for investor comps down in Tampa, Florida, back in January 2009. And he was actually from Milan, Italy. He was a former editor for what was PC Magazine over there, living in Clearwater, and was using investor comps to do deals. And he said that, listen, I would really like to introduce you to more people in and from Italy, because the euro was trading so high against the US dollar that they would more likely want to deploy capital, because you could buy houses so much cheaper in the US. So I just happened to be going on a transatlantic cruise. One of our stops was in Savona, Italy. He came and picked us up, met us in Italy, took us, and we met with a room full of investors, literally about $500 million of investment capital. Well, again, now that wasn't 2004, that was 2009, so 5 years later. But the good success of doing deals and doing them well, utilizing just local capital, led to having much more substantial capital. I'm a small business. I don't operate funds or syndications. We do all one-off deals, but presently we have about $45 million in assets under management right now. And again, it's more than I could ever dreamed of, but it started with, Gene, my insurance agent and my next door neighbor. So I pray that gives you just a seed to be willing to make yourself vulnerable, expose yourself to underbelly, and just go ask.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's a joy. It's a joy.
No, this is very inspirational. Thank you.
No challenge. Well, I got lots of stories. But one thing about your Spanish, I use what was formerly called the Great Courses Plus, is now called Wonderum. And you can get the subscription to that for $150. And they have a Spanish one for 30 courses and a Spanish 2 for 30 courses. I just, in the last year, with my teacher, la maestra, retirada de Universidad de Puerto Rico. She retired from the University of Puerto Rico. And so she works with me on a weekly basis, and I'm in my second year now. Getting past the verbs, the preterite, imperfect, perfect tense, and futuro and all that is really the most challenging thing. If you get about 2,000 words and vocabulary under your belt, you'll do just fine, without a doubt. But Wonderum, that's W-O-N-D-I-R-U-M. There we go. So back to real estate. What else we got? How can I serve?
Yeah. From a numbers perspective, are you looking to burr these deals when you buy them, or is every analysis different?
Right. So on the numbers, typically what I'm always looking to do is make sure that I'm acquiring renovation and acquisition costs no less than about 1.15. If I can get to 1.25, 1.5 and higher, whether that's mainland or here in Puerto Rico, that's what I'm always going for. So if I can acquire for $100,000 and renovate, I want to know my rents are at least going to be $1,500. Okay. With that, I know my rent growth is going to grow over the next 12 to 24, 36 months. With that increase in income, while my principal is still at its original point, because I'm only paying interest only on the notes, what will happen is I will then either sell that property with the equity gain to another investor that wants to have it turnkey, or at times, based on the asset, how many room counts it has, how it's performing, I would then go ahead and bring in some commercial money and then make that part of my wealth building portfolio. So that's typically what I'm doing with these assets here, providing affordable single-family housing. Now, there are market areas that you can go into and do the BRRRR method if you want, or just fix and flip. Early on in a lot of careers, I always teach you want to buy two, sell one. Buy two, sell one. Get one that you're going to keep and let that be part of your long-term wealth portfolio. And then flip one, because then that's going to give you those nice big chunks of cash that can utilize. You can get good chunks of cash wholesaling as well, but when you actually value add an asset and grow the equity by $40,000, $50,000, and that 70%, 80% of that comes to you at the closing table. That depends if you're wholesaling in California or somewhere, or maybe New York. You could probably make the same number as wholesaling, but fixing and flipping gives you a real good chunk of cash that you can actually utilize to fund your business and actually grow some of your other assets. BRRRR method works really, really well. Either for if you're just going to, not BRRRR method is a fix and flip. BRRRR is just if you're going to long-term hold for yourself. But again, you want a situation where you can only have so many notes. Utilize some of that buy two, sell one as you apply the BRRRR method, and then take some of that principal and get that asset free and clear as quickly as you possibly can. That's going to be 48, 60 months, whatever the case may be. But the numbers here are really, really dynamic. Typically, most of the assets that you're going to find will be some type of multifamily. Because they're masonry construction, you easily can take the rebar based on the exterior walls and go up another floor. I would say probably half of the assets that we have, that was the case. It started out as just a single floor unit, and at some point there was family money gathered together, and then they took the rebar and took it up and added another unit. Now here in Puerto Rico, one thing you have to be mindful of is folks building without permits, and secondarily is the introduction of power and water meters to the second unit, because you don't want to be in a situation in an environment here where electricity is fairly expensive. It's an island nation. It's just going to be more expensive. You don't want to have to pay the electric bill for your clients. So you want to have multiple meters on those assets. I will tell you, I had to learn that one. So everything we bought since 2020 has at least 2 or 3 meters on it so that we can redistribute the power. Now, what we've also done, I'll actually show you a picture. On that 9 unit, there's actually 2 power meters there. For the smaller building, it has meters for all 3 units, so each of the residents can have their own power. In the other building, we actually introduced a metering system. And so where it's set up is that each unit has its own tracking of how much power is used, but it also even has a cutoff switch. So if we have a client, we send them, they put down a deposit for their power, and then we share with them on a monthly basis what their reading is, and then they pay their electricity to go along with their rent. And again, we do have the capacity, should they not, more than not pay their rent, if they don't pay their power, we can turn the power off. There's different ways in technology. What's really even cool about that is that system's set up so that it can be read utilizing Wi-Fi or broadband. So we don't have to come and read the meter. We can do it on an app. So there's all kinds of folks talk about different places, China, Korea, Puerto Rico, but there is really great and awesome technology. The only thing I do here is Apple Pay for my watch. I can't tell you the last time I pulled out money and actually paid for something other than maybe some mangoes or some papaya or some avocado along the road or something like that. But otherwise, everything is just Apple Pay. There's touch to pay everywhere. You don't have to have your card or whatever the case may be. It's got some real good infrastructure in a number of different ways that folks wouldn't expect. I hope that gets into some of the numbers and the percentages I like to use when I'm doing real estate, including utilizing the BRRRR method as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So you basically look for cash flow that meet at least the 1.5 rule of thumb.
Yes, at least 1.15 at a minimum. I prefer to take it as high as I possibly can. Awesome. Lots of times if you can get 2, 2.5, 3, definitely. But that's got to be acquisition and renovation. So you want to be able to cover both those numbers. And whenever you work with your rehab, always give yourself at least a 4 to 5% cushion for contingencies. It's always great if you come in under budget and on time, but you want to allow some contingency room in there as well. You just never know what's going to come up. And in particular, it could just be time. It may not be that cost of materials went up. It may just be that the weather wouldn't let the contractor finish in time. So you got to pay another month's of utility bills or something like that. So always give yourself a little cushion. Work the numbers in your favor, test them, so that you'll be in a good place before you actually even close on the transaction or go to your investor for capital. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is powerful. Thank you.
It's a joy. It's a joy. It's a joy.
Always account for the uh-ohs and the underlying issues. All right?
Yes. You just never know.
Exactly. I'm sorry. I was going to say I did some research on investing in Puerto Rico. Of course, as you've been doing it, and if not most of the island, if not all the island, is in the opportunity zone. Can you explain how powerful that is to the folks here?
Yes, it is. In particular, Jean and everyone, as you work to engage with private investors, lots of folks that are high net worth, maybe high W-2 income earners, will have capital that they've had some type of equity event that has taken place. And in my case, I have a number of doctors that are selling their dental practices to dental service organizations. And so they'll have a nearly $1 million or multi-million-dollar event. And so what happens is in that calendar year, they would normally have to pay tax on that windfall, that equity that's come in. However, in the opportunity zones, there's the incentive to invest and deploy capital in those areas and let that money work for 5 to 7, typically 7 years. Now, with the proper tax structures, what a client or a private lender can do is you can have them invest in a project in your specific opportunity market area. Now, that's here in Puerto Rico, but it's also in Metro Atlanta, it's in Baltimore, it's in the DC area. There's a number of different places. There's probably a heat map that you can look up and say, what's an opportunity zone? You put that capital there, those clients can be earning interest income on that money, not have to pay the tax right now, but it can be deferred for 7 years. And what they've done is actually earn enough interest and more to pay the tax that was due at the time that they had the equity event. So it's a very strategic planning method, but that's one of the ways that you take advantage of opportunity zones. I used to live in Denver. There's opportunity zones in the Metro Denver area that we had investors deploy capital in particular on long-term hold projects. So it could be, typically going to be some type of multifamily or redevelopment project where that capital is going to stay in place and just earn interest returns over time. It can be a very big windfall for you as each and every one of you should look to engage and have capital deployed. And it is a significant windfall for those that want to earn interest on money rather than just sitting around. That don't want to pay tax on the equity event they had. They want to be able to defer that tax and put that money to work as much as they can and have someone else pay that tax bill for them, as compared to them just having to take $1 million and chop 25% off of it. So that's how Opportunity Zone works, and they're literally across the country. You can find one in any and all the major market areas across the U.S. I hope that helps, Jane. Sharon.
Thank you. That was amazing. Yeah, I was surprised to see that virtually the whole island is in that zone. So that's another big plus for investing in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I'll give you another tip. It's really interesting how different things work. And it depends on the circumstance. So going back to golf, in Georgia, in the little town of Augusta, they have this event that takes place there once a year. It's a very large golf tournament. And so the residents there will rent out their home for 14 days or less. Now, there is a tax code, I think it's 301, that's called the Augusta Rule. just shows you how political things can be. And what it says is that you can rent your residence for 14 days. It doesn't have to be consecutive. You can rent your home for 14 days at essentially the market rate. And for that calendar year, not only do you not have to report that income, you don't have to report any expenses against it. So why do I talk about that? My wife and I have a home in Denver, Colorado. And that home is a primary residence, and it has a carriage house. That carriage house actually, for the trust that holds title to that property, was where I operated my office for both investor comps and my company in Atlanta, Discount Home Deals. So I paid a lease to the trust on a monthly basis. Well, that office now still holds records for our properties, and I have a team member that lives in Denver that goes and checks the mail and does some filing there 1 day a month. So what do? The company now leases 1 day a month from the trust that particular property at the market rate, and all of that income, $2,400 a month, is now paid to that trust that holds that property tax-free, and it does not have to be reported. And that is perfectly legitimately legal based on the tax code that exists, because we're only doing it 12 days out of the year. You can, according to the Augusta rule, you don't have to be 14 consecutive days. So that is not something I knew for myself. Someone else mentioned it to me, and I looked it up, read about it, and figured how we could apply it to our own circumstances. So there's this thing called real estate is wonderful in a number of different ways. And I encourage you, learn as much as you can. Never, ever, ever stop learning. Never, ever stop reading. There's a phrase that was shared with me a long time ago. Earners are learners. So always be in a posture of learning and engaging, but also take action. Don't just be in a situation where you're gaining knowledge and you're not out there, either virtually at home, working the internet and working on deals and utilizing the technology available to you, or if you're actually working live assets. Gene, it sounds like you're on the ground doing some deals. Definitely take action on what you're learning. Honor all those that are pouring into you. Honor yourself. Get up each and every day excited and grateful that you know who you are. You got some strength in your body. I talk about all the time that you want to arise to live, and each and every day awaken with gratitude. Realize anything is possible. Have intentional focus as you go forward, and you want to strengthen not just your mind but also your body. And with doing that, you will execute with excellence on the desires of your heart. Arise to live each and every day. Be a blessing not only to yourself but to everyone else that you encounter.
Thank you so much, Mark. That was very powerful. You covered a lot of great information. I'm sure everybody here enjoyed it. And I guess that was great. You took us to the end. Jim packed a lot of the content in there.
We're going to be cognizant of everybody's time, and we'll make sure you go to our website, virtualreiacademy.com. We have some good stuff on there, and we'll see everybody next week.
There you go. Again, thank you for the opportunity to serve. Blessings and joy to all of you. Take wonderfully good care.
Thank you so much, Mark.
You got it.
Mark. Thank you, everybody.
Got it.
Thank you,
Take care.
Thank you.